Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be learning how to draft a cowl neck palazzo jumpsuit with a perfect crotch area. If that sounds like what you would love to learn, then let's jump right into it. So guys, we're on the drafting table now. If you can see clearly, I marked 4 inches above here and I marked 4 inches by the side here. This is our border line. We're going to use it while drafting the back, because in this kind of jumpsuit, I'm going to draft both front and back on the same pattern. Then later we'll transfer one. You understand better as we go on. So all my drafting is going to start from this border line. I'm not going to start from the top. I'm just going to leave this 4 inches by the side here and I'm going to start drafting. So I've gone ahead to mark my jumpsuit length. So I'll remove, for you to get it, you're going to remove 18. My half length, my shoulder to my half length is 18 inches. So I'm going to mark 18 inches. I'll put 18 inches here. Then I'll mark my jumpsuit length. My jumpsuit length is 60 inches. So you see 60 inches. I've gotten my 60 inches right here. So that's my jumpsuit length. So I'm going to go back and start drafting. So the first thing I want to do is to mark my crotch depth. The crotch depth of a jumpsuit is quite different from a trouser pattern, because you know a jumpsuit, the joining will start from your upper waist, while trouser starts from the lower waist. So for you to get your crotch depth for a jumpsuit is your hip divided by 3, unlike for a trouser that the crotch depth will be hip divided by 4. For this one, it's going to be your hip divided by 3, and my hip is 40 divided by 3 will give me 13.3. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 13. I'll use 13 inches. So I'll mark 13 inches like so. This is my crotch depth. I'll mark 13 inches. Then for the width, I'm going to mark my hip divided by 4, just like we do for trouser pattern. I'm just going to mark my hip divided by 4, and 40 divided by 4 will give me 10. So I'm just going to mark 10 here and I'll create a box. 10. I'll mark 10 here too. So I'll create a box. So this is my crotch depth. Now this is my crotch depth. So the next thing I want to do is to impute my crotch extension for the front. So for the crotch extension for the front, the formula is your hip divided by 20, and my hip is 40 divided by 20 will give me 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 inches to get my crotch extension. So from here I'm going to mark my 2 inches. So 2 inches is here. Then I'll connect the line. I will extend this line to that 2 inches that I marked. So you see, that 2 inches that I marked, so that's my crotch extension for the front. So the next thing I want to do is to get my hip line. So your hip line is usually 2 inches above your crotch depth. So I'm going to put my tape from my crotch depth and go up by 2 inches. I'll mark 2 inches. And I'll connect the line. Good. So that's my hip line. So I want to mark that curve. You know that curve that crotch usually have. So what I'll do is I'll come out here on this hip line. I'll come out by 1/4 of an inch. So from that 1/4 of an inch, I'll bring my curve ruler. I'll place it on this 1/4 of an inch. Place it on this our 2 inches crotch extension. And it will rest on this line too. So that will give me a perfect crotch curve. You see it? Good. So the next thing we're going to do now is to impute our waist measurement. My waist is 29 inches divided by 4 will give us 7.25. So on the waistline here, I'm going to mark 7.25. Then I'll put 1 inch allowance for that. for our dart intake. So I'm going to put 1 inch allowance. Then I'll connect it to my hip line. So as I'm connecting it to my hip line, I'm just going to raise it. I'm going to raise it by 1/2 inch. You see it? And I'll leave it like so. So the next thing I want to do is to mark my dart. Yes. So to mark my dart, I'll just take everything that I have on the waistline, which is 8.25. I'm just going to divide it into 2. Just share your waistline into 2. Get the midpoint. You see, get the midpoint. Then that's where my dart will stand. And the length of my dart is going to be 7.5 for the jumpsuit. If it's were a trouser, it's going to be 4.5. But since it's a jumpsuit, my dart is going to be 7.5. So it's going to be like so. So for me to get a straight line, I'll just mark what I have here and mark it here too, just to be accurate. So I'm going to draw a straight line there. Good. So now I'm going to open my dart up. I'll open my dart up by 1/2 inch on both sides. You know I left 1 inch, so 1/2 inch on both sides. Then I'll connect it. So this 1/2 inch that I raised up here, this 1/2 inch that I raised up here, I'm going to connect it to the first dart leg. So I'm going to connect it to the first dart leg. Good. And we are done for that part. So the next thing we want to do is to get our knee length. Our knee length. In case you did not take it on your client, what you will do, just measure what you have from your crotch depth. Measure what you have to your, just measure what you have to your trouser length, to your jumpsuit length. Just measure what you have. So I have 29 inches. I have 29 inches here. So I'm going to divide it by 2. I'm going to divide it by 2. So when I divide it by 2, I got 14.5. I got 14.5. So I'm going to raise this 14.5. I'm going to go up by 1.5. So I'll get 13 inches. So I'll mark 13 inches. You see it? I'll mark 13 inches. So when I mark 13 inches, I'll come back and measure what I have from that crotch depth to that 13 inches. That's 13 inches. So I'm going to mark 13 inches here too. 13 inches. So I'm going to turn it into a straight line. That is my knee length. So in case you do not take it on your client, you can just follow this procedure and you get your knee length, the knee length of your client. So I've gotten my knee length, and this is my ankle length. This is my ankle length. The trouser length is your ankle length. So the next thing I want to do is to impute my knee circumference. I want to impute my knee circumference. So for you to do this, you need what is called a crease line. If you want your trouser or jumpsuit to be in the middle, to stand well, not to be shifting to the side, all you need is your crease line. So for you to get that crease line, what you need is for you to mark, take the measurements from your crotch extension to this our starting point here. Your crotch extension, everything that you have here, everything including your crotch extension, take it and see. I have 12 inches. You see it? I have 12 inches. So that 12 inches, you are going to divide it by 2. If I divide the 12 inches by 2, I'm going to get 6 inches. So I'm going to mark 6 inches. I'll come to the knee circumference. I'll mark 6 inches too. Then I'll come to the ankle too. I'll come to the ankle and I'll mark 6 inches. So I'm going to connect these lines. I'm going to connect these lines. This procedure is very, very necessary if you want your trouser or jumpsuit to be balanced. So now that we have gotten the midpoint, the next thing we want to do now is to mark our knee circumference. So for this knee circumference, all the measurements you will be doing now is to be putting it in the middle of this line. So my knee circumference is 17 inches. So 17, you know, 17 inches is both front and back, and this is just the front pattern. So first of all, I will divide the 17 into 2. It will give me 8.5. So this 8.5, this is what I'm going to share in between this line. I will put 4 1/4 here, and I'll put 4 1/4 here. So that's what I'm going to do. You see it, 4 1/4 here, 4 1/4 here. Then we'll go to the ankle. My ankle circumference is 13 inches. So 13 inches divided by 2 first, it will give me 6.5. So that 6.5, I'm going to share it in between this place. So here I'm going to have 3.25. Here I'm going to have 3.25. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark it 3.25 and 3.25. You see? So that's just perfect. So we are going to connect all these lines that we have marked. We're going to connect them. Let's start from here, from the knee circumference to the ankle. Let's connect it. We'll connect here too. See, then we'll go to the hip, we'll go to the crotch depth and connect it to the knee circumference. Then I'll connect here. I'm supposed to use a pant curve here, but I don't have a pant curve, so we are just going to make do with what we have. So I'm just going to connect it like so. So you see, that's a nice curve there. So I've connected it. So you see my trouser pattern is looking beautiful already. This is the lower part of my jumpsuit. It's looking very pretty already. You see it. You see it. So the front is ready. As it is, the front is ready. So the next thing we want to do is to mark our back. Our back pattern, we're still going to mark it on this same pattern. So I'm going to drop my black marker pen and I'm going to use my red marker pen just to differentiate the back from the front. Just to differentiate the back from the front. So I'm going to start marking for the back now, and I'm going to use a red marker pen. So the first thing I want to do is to extend these lines. I'm going to extend these lines. That's the crotch depth line. I'm going to extend it. You see it, I've extended it. Then I can also extend my hip line too. So you see, I've extended the lines. So the next thing I want to do is to get my center back. You know, this part is my center front. This part is my center front. Now we want to get the center back. What you do is you will go in from this center front, go in here by 1 inch. Please follow me. I'll go in by 1 inch. I'll mark 1 inch. Then on this upper part, the waistline, I'm going to go in by 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches. Then I'll connect the lines. This will become my center back. So when I'm connecting these lines, what I'll do is I'll raise it up. Instead of me stopping here, I'll raise it up by 2.5 inches. But if you are making for a plus size, someone that has a big butt, you have to increase it like 3 inches. But for a medium size, you can use 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches work for most people. So I'm going to raise it up by 2.5 inches. So I'll stop here. When I'm connecting it, I'm going to stop at 2.5 inches. You see, that's 2.5 inches. So you see, this becomes our center back. This part is now our center back. So that's where all our measurements will be taken from the back now. So the next thing I want to do is to measure my waist measurement. But look at what I'm going to do. To measure your waist measurement, you are going to put your tape from here and you are going to make it, you make sure that it's touching, is resting on this our starting point line that we marked our waist on the front. So you put it in a slant form like this. You know, everything on our waist is 8.25. That's plus our 1 inch that allowance. So that's what we are going to put on this line. Then you raise it up by half. You know, we raise the front here by half, so you raise this place up by ½ inch. So I'll mark here, this is my 8.25, and I've raised it up by ½ inch. So I'm going to connect this line in a slant form. You see it? Good. You see it? That's my waistline. So I'm going to connect. Now I'm going to mark my hip. You know, this is my waist. Now I'm going to mark my hip. My hip is going to start from my center back. You see it? And my hip is 40 divided by 4 will give us 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches. 10 inches. So to get the same measurement on the hip line, what you will do is just to get what is remaining here. I have 3 inches, so I'll come here and mark 3 inches too on the hip line. You see it? So I can now connect my waist to my hip. So I'll connect my waist to my hip. So the next thing we want to do is to create our dart for the back. So to create your dart, the same thing we did for the front. Just take everything that you have here. We have 8¼ share it into 2, get the midpoint, mark the midpoint, then bring your ruler. But this time around, you cannot just mark a straight line. There's a little trick I'll show you here. Don't just mark a straight line. If not, your dart will not align, because this part is not straight, it's slant. So what you need to do, if you check your ruler, any of your ruler, you will see that they have some straight lines on your ruler. Just get one of those straight lines. Let those straight lines align with this slant line. Let it touch your midpoint that you want to create your dart, and let the line just rest. Let one of those straight lines just rest. I hope you can see it. Let it just rest on your slant line. You see it? I've gotten a point. Good. You see, one of my straight lines on my ruler is resting on my slant line. So that will be my dart. And the dart for the back is going to be, the length of the back dart is going to be 8.5. So my dart is going to stop here. So I'm going to mark it. Good. So that will be my dart. So I'm going to open up my dart with ½ inch on both sides, because we left 1 inch dart allowance. So I'm going to connect the lines. Good. So we have created our dart for the back. So the next thing I want to do is to create my crotch extension. You know, we have not created our crotch extension for the back. So what we'll do, from this center back, there's a formula for crotch extension for the back. You know, for the front is hip divided by 20, but for the back is your hip divided by 10. So my hip is 40 divided by 10 will give me 4 inches. So I'm going to mark the 4 inches from my center back. Please don't forget, center back. So I'm going to mark 4 inches from my center back. I'm going to mark 4 inches. So this is 4 inches right here. So that's where my crotch extension for the back will stop. Then to get that nice curve, what I'll do is, from this angle I'll go up by 1 inch. From this angle I'll go up by 1 inch, and on my hip line I'm going to come out by 1/4 inch, just like we did for the front. 1/4 inch. Then I'll bring my curve ruler. I'll place my curve ruler so that it will touch here. Not necessarily, it will not necessarily touch this point. Just let your ruler rest on this line, and that will be fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope you can see it. Good. I've gotten a point, so I'm going to curve it. I'm going to make that curve. You see it? I'm going to make the curve. So that's my crotch extension for the back. You can see it's not even touching this part, but I know that that's my crotch extension for the back. So what I want to do next is to come to the knee line. What I'll do is to come to the knee line. This is the knee line, and I'll come out by 1/2 inch. I'll mark 1/2 inch here. On this other side too, I'll come out by 1/2 inch. I'll come to the ankle length, the ankle line, which is the trouser length. I'll come out to by 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch here. I'll come out to here by 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect the lines. I'll connect what I just came out by now. Connect it. I'll also connect this one. See it. Then I'll connect from my knee to my crotch depth, like so. Then I'll connect this too. You see, I'm starting from my crotch depth, so I'll connect the lines. So you see it, that's a nice curve there. So you see it. Then here, I can just come here and just blend here with a smooth curve. Good. So you see, our trouser pattern is ready. The lower part of our jumpsuit is ready. All we need to do, since they are both on the same pattern, both my front and my back are on the same pattern, what I will do is I will get a fresh pattern paper. I'll place it underneath. I'll bring my what's it called, I'll bring my tracing wheel. Then I'll trace the front pattern out into that other pattern. Then we'll have two separate patterns. Then we can use this one as our back, then use the one we traced that as our front. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead to get another pattern paper. You see, so I'm going to place this one on it. Then I'm going to pin them together so that it doesn't move while I'm tracing. This is what is called a tracing wheel. So I'm going to pin them together so that it will not shift. So I've pinned them together. So I'm going to start tracing. So I'm going to be tracing only the black marker pen. You know, the black marker pen is our front, and is the front I want to transfer to the other paper. So I'm going to start tracing from the black marker pen alone. So I'm just going to trace it round. As you are tracing it, is showing on the other paper down. So only where there is black marker pen, that is where I'm going to be tracing. I'm done tracing it. I traced it off camera. I finished tracing it off camera. So I'm just going to remove the pins. You can see. So this is what we traced. You might not be able to see it, but me, I'm seeing it. You might not be able to see it, but I'm seeing what I traced out. So I'll just follow the lines. I'll connect it. I'll just connect the lines like so. So in order for this video not to be long, I'll trace it out and I'll show you what it looks like. So I finished tracing it, and you see it came out very nice. This is the front. So this is the front pattern. So I'm just going to label it front. And this is the one we traced out. So what I'm going to do, for me to use this one as my back, I'm just going to ignore the black marker pen. When I want to cut it now, let's cut it. So this is my back pattern. Let's just cut. As I'm cutting, I'm going to ignore the black marker pen. I'm just going to go through wherever I see red marker pen. That's just where I'm going to cut. See the way I ignored the black marker pen. I'm just following the red marker pen. You see. So you see, you can see now, this is our front pattern and this is our back pattern. I've not cut out the front. I don't want to cut out the front yet because I want pockets. I want my jumpsuit to have pockets. So I'm just going to show you how to go about the pocket. So if you want pocket on your jumpsuit, what you do is you go in here from this part. You go in by 2.5 inch. You mark it. Then you go down from the waistline. You go down by 7 inches. This depends on the wideness of your palm. So you connect it. You connect from this place to this place. You can connect it with either a slant line or a curved line. So what you do next, excuse me, what you do next is to go in from this 2.5 inch that you mark. Just go in by 3.5 inches. Go in by 3.5 inches. You can close your darts before you start this. You can just close your darts. Then go in by, let's say go in by 3 inches. 3 inches. Then from this down part, just go down by 4 inches. That's the depth of your pocket. Go down by 4 inches. Then you connect these lines. This place that you went down by 4 inches, you bring down this line with a straight line. You bring it down like so. Then connect it to this 4 inches that you went down by. So if you don't want to leave here sharp like this, just give it a nice curve here. So just curve this part. So that's your pocket. So what we'll do next is, we don't want to cut our pocket out because this is our front pattern. So I'm just going to bring a fresh paper and place it underneath. Then I'll trace it out. I want to trace this pocket out. You know, from here, like this, from this slant line like this, is our pocket facing. Then from here, from the waistline here, everywhere here, is our pocket. So I'm going to trace two things out. I'm going to trace the pocket facing, which is from here, one. Then I'm going to trace here again, everything around here, which is our pocket. I'm going to trace it on another paper. So I'm going to put another paper underneath it. So while I'm tracing it, I'm going to close our dart. So I'll trace it. So I'll go ahead and trace it. So now I'm tracing. So I've been able to I've transferred the pocket. This is the pocket and this is the pocket facing. So I'll just cut it out. So now that we've gotten our pocket, we can now cut our front. We can now cut our front pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my front pattern out now. Okay guys, I've cut out the front pattern and these are the pockets. This is the back pattern. So I want to quickly show you something. If you are to add a pocket, if you are adding a pocket to your jumpsuit, then you have to cut out this part that we measured, that we went in by 2.5 and came down by 7. You have to cut it out. But if you are not putting a pocket, please don't cut this part out. Don't cut this part out if you are not putting a pocket. But since we are putting a pocket on our jumpsuit, I'm just going to cut it out. So it's out. So my front pattern is ready. This is my back pattern. This is my pocket. This is my pocket. This is my pocket facing. So they are all ready. So the lower part of our jumpsuit is ready. So we are just going to go straight and cut the upper bodies of our jumpsuit. So let's go. Okay guys, so I've drafted the upper bodies. I drafted it off camera. This is just the basic bodies. I have a detailed tutorial on my channel. I'll drop the link in this description box on how to draft these basic bodies. So we are just going to work on the front. The back does not have any alteration. I will just alter the neckline, but the front is going to have a cowl neck design. I want the cowl neck, I want the upper bodies of the front to have a cowl neck. So I'm going to alter the front, but the back I'm just going to alter the neckline, the width of the neckline. For the front, I will alter the width and the depth. So for the front, I'm going to alter the width to 4 inches. I'm going to alter the width of the neck. You know, the basic neckline of a basic block is usually 3. The width is 3, while the depth is 3. So I'm just going to add 1 more inch to make the width 4 inches. Then for the front, I'm going to make the depth 5.5 inches. So the width is going to be 4 for both back and front, while the depth, I'm going to alter it to 5.5 inches. I didn't show that I increased the depth here, but I later increased the depth of the front to 5.5 inches. So when that is done, the next thing I want to do is to alter the front bodies. You see, now what I'm going to do is to slash open my waist dart. I will slash open my waist dart like so. Up to the nipple point. Then I'm going to close my bust dart. That means I'm transferring my waist dart to my bust dart. I'm transferring my waist dart to my bust dart. You see, I'm going to close up. I'm trying to open up my waist dart. I'm trying to slash it open very well. You see, so I'm going to close the waist dart. You see, I'm closing the waist dart. Once you close the waist dart, you are transferring the dart that is supposed to be on the waist somewhere else. So in this case, I'm transferring the waist dart to my bust dart. You see it. So as you can see, I have successfully transferred the waist dart to the bust dart. So now what I want to do is to transfer this bust dart to make it our cowl neckline. So for me to achieve this, I will draw slash lines. The first slash line I'm going to draw, I will draw a line from the armhole to the center front. That's the first slash line I'm going to draw. Then I will also use the mid, that line that goes directly from the nipple point. You see that line I'm touching now? I'm going to slash that line open too. So I'll slash it open, then close my bust dart. That means I've transferred my dart from my bust to my center front. You see it? I'm closing the bust dart now. You see, immediately I closed the bust dart, the dart went straight to my center front. You can see it. So I'm going to tape down that bust dart so that my dart goes to the center front. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to open the slash lines. First, I'll open the one on my chest line. Then I'll open the one on my mid armhole. Then I'll spread. First you slash, then you spread. So this is to give fullness on the neckline so that it can give us that desired cowl neckline that we want to achieve. So you see, this is how we are going to spread it. You're going to spread it moderately, not as wide as this. When I will bring a brown paper now. So see, I'm going to spread it evenly. I'll make sure that the space that I'm leaving in between are equal. So what I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark a straight line touching the tip of the shoulder. You can see, mark a straight line. And please make sure when you are spreading on your pattern paper, you see that center front is matching at the center front. Make sure that is aligned. Then you draw a straight line from the tip of your shoulder to the center front. You see it just like that. Then the next thing you want to do is to measure 3 to 4 inches upward. This will be your facing. This is what we are going to use for our facing, the neckline facing. Instead of putting a separate facing, just mark it upward like so. 2 to 4 inches is okay for this. Then what you want to do is to fold on that straight line that we marked at the tip of the shoulder. Just fold like this. You see it? Fold on that line. Okay, I just want to cut the excess paper. I'm cutting the excess paper. Then I'm folding on that line. Then what I'll do is to trace exactly what I see on this pattern. Just trace. You see me tracing it. I'll just cut exactly what I'm seeing here. Both the armhole, the shoulder. I'm just going to trace. I'm just going to cut it out like this. You see, I'm not going to cut out this neckline. I'm just going to cut from the down, you see. Then the side. Then the armhole. And the shoulder slant. And that's all. That's just what you are going to cut. You see it? When you bring it out, this part is going to be your facing. You see? This part is going to be the facing. You're not going to put an extra facing. That upper part is going to be your facing. You can see everything is sitting where this is how yours should look. So I'm bringing back the back pattern. You can see it's matching on the side. You see it? Everything is looking nice. So all I need to do, know that again on our front bodies, because it has been transferred. It has been used to form our cowl neckline. The only thing you are going to do is to hold your back. That's all. We are done with the upper bodies. Now I'm bringing in the trouser pattern just to show you what we have. So this is a complete set. The trouser pattern and the upper bodies. Bringing them together gives you a jumpsuit. It's as simple as that. Guys, this brings us to the end of today's tutorial. I hope you found value in this video. If you do, please click the like button and share our video. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and this is me rocking my jumpsuit. If you would love to see a tutorial on the sewing aspect, please drop us a comment below and I'll do well to upload the sewing tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.